So the employee was not in violation, but the signs were still up. So all the people were being told that they were not allowed to eat on the train, but they were allowed to eat on the train. So Natasha's not wrong. There was a double standard here. The public was being told they were not allowed to eat on the train, even though the rule had been suspended, while the employees were eating on the train.
This is a community-supported legal education channel. Find out how you can support our mission at the links in the description below.
Natasha Tynes has sued Rare Bird Lit for breach of contract, breach of implied contract, detrimental reliance, unjust enrichment, tortious interference, defamation, conspiracy to defame, and infliction of distress under California law. This is in the county of Los Angeles. What happened was, aside from Natasha Tynes being more or less a Jordanian American author, recipient of the F. Scott Fitzgerald Literary Festival Award for Short Fiction, program director for International Center for Journalists, trained as an Egyptian journalist. As a result of her defense of free speech and a free press, Natasha was sentenced to 5 years in an Egyptian prison with hard labor along with 10 Americans. In her work and on blogs, Natasha has spoken out about the scourge of racism and bigotry and has been subjected to racism over the years as a result of her Jordanian heritage and prominent accent. As a result of defendants' actions, her reputation at large and in the writing community has been permanently ruined. Plaintiff has been placed on leave at her day job. She has been subjected to death threats, harassment, vile racist epithets, and has been hospitalized with chest pain, high blood pressure, hyperventilation, shakiness, suicidal ideations, forced to temporarily leave the U.S., and her book was canceled and sabotaged. Why? Why did Rare Bird respond with such harshness? Because she said this. This was a tweet one morning, a month or two ago. When you're on the morning commute and you see a WMATA or Washington Metro employee in uniform eating on the train, I thought we were not allowed to eat on the train. This is unacceptable. Hope WMATA responds. When I asked the employee, she said, worry about yourself. Unsuck DC Metro. Now, I don't see what's racist about that. But facts being what they are, fill you in. The employee was black. Now, Natasha Tynes herself is a person of color, although from this picture, she looks a little bit lighter skinned. Should any of this matter? No. But racism appears to have come into it one way or the other. Natasha had a book contract with Rare Bird to publish her book, They Called Me Wyatt. You can decide for yourself whether it's a good book or not. It got some critical reviews, but who knows if those critical reviews were in response to this or because it hadn't been published yet, so nobody's read it, right? So who knows whether that was in response to this or not. So the parties had an agreement to publish the hardcover or trade paperback, ebook, audiobook. Wait a second here. Does anyone notice anything? The contract states in part the following. Where's the contract? This is unheard of. When you have a contract dispute and you sue over it, you include the contract. In fact, in my state, it's a requirement. I can get the case dismissed if you don't include the contract. It's a preliminary objection. It's a valid one. So where's the contract? Instead, she cites parts of the contract. Promise to publish, joint approval for the design, print editions, the imprints, publisher, etc. It's all Red Bird. Royalties will be paid, and the author's written approval is needed to assign the agreement to somebody else. Everything was done and ready. The book was written, ready to be published. They created the Amazon page. Everything's going well. They claimed not to be able to take it down after they put it up. And then she sent her tweet, May 10th, 2019 at 9:15 a.m. She deleted it at 10 a.m. Somewhere in here. She says that she herself gets hungry and wants to eat on the train from time to time. And she was upset seeing the double standard that an employee was allowed to eat on the train and that she was not. Now, in her defense, she did see notices in the station and on the train that she's not allowed to eat on the train. And the employee knew that that rule had been suspended. So the employee was not in violation, but the signs were still up. So all the people were being told that they were not allowed to eat on the train, but they were allowed to eat on the train. So Natasha's not wrong. There was a double standard here. The public was being told they were not allowed to eat on the train, even though the rule had been suspended, while the employees were eating on the train. Now, the union will defend the WMATA employee, and I personally have no grief whatsoever with the WMATA employee for eating on the train. Maybe the WMATA employee could have cleared things up with Natasha by saying that the rule was suspended instead of perpetuating the double standard. Anybody see a race issue here yet? At 10 a.m., she thought better of the social media post and deleted it. However, the damage was done. Plaintiff often does not get a chance to eat before work, and she would have liked to enjoy such privileges as eating on the train. She always assumed she would get a citation or ticket if she did. She often goes into the afternoon on an empty stomach in order to make the commute and fulfill her obligations as a worker and mother. The Metro employee has not been publicly identified and was not readily identifiable in an image accompanying the plaintiff's tweet, as her face is blocked by the Metro uniform's cap. So she did not publicly oust the person by identity. Plaintiff contacted WMATA through Twitter at 11:38 a.m. and said that they didn't mean anything more than a little bit of frustration and made an error in judgment by reporting her. Plaintiff informed Redbird that she had contacted WMATA to make certain that they would not discipline the Metro worker. In response, Peterson from Redbird said that he did not blame Tynes. You'll get through this. We've got your back. Throughout the day, plaintiff and her husband received increasingly urgent and threatening phone calls from Peterson demanding that she make additional public statements about the incident, threatened to cancel her book, and stated that if she did not do what he demanded, then Redbird and California Cold Blood would make public statements maligning plaintiff and her book. Plaintiff again informed Peterson that her employer advised her not to make any further public comment, and she could not risk her job, the sole income of her family of 5. So she has another job, and her other employer is telling her, please stop posting about this. At 5:38 p.m., defendant Redbird posted a statement that plaintiff did something horrible today, engaged in inappropriate and unacceptable behavior, engaged in the policing of a black woman's body, engaged in an act that jeopardized a person's safety, announced that they are strongly urging Tynes publisher California Cold Blood to end their contract with her. Okay, wait, I got so many problems with this statement. Who's California Cold Blood? Her contract allegedly is with Redbird Publishing, and it says that it can only be assigned to somebody else in writing with the author's approval. So there's a thing there. And then let's look at these individual statements for defamation. Did something truly horrible today? Opinion. Heck, I could think your waking up in the morning is truly horrible. Like, that's a totally opinion. Engaged in inappropriate and unacceptable behavior. Opinion. Engaged in the policing of a black woman's body. That's like right on the line for me. You brought race into it during a time when we know racial tensions are high and everything. But is it not just your opinion whether somebody telling you what to do with yourself is policing your body or not? I don't know. I don't think it was policing her body. Asking someone not to violate the rules of the train when they're in authority and you're following the rules, I think that's just seeing a double standard. But that's also my opinion. And isn't it Peterson's opinion whether she policed a black woman's body? Now, Peterson might have overreacted, sure, but the overreaction has to reach the level of defamation, not just Peterson overreacted. So they said that she engaged in an act that jeopardized a person's safety. Okay, that didn't happen. That right there could be defamation. And then they announced that they were strongly urging the publisher to end their contract with her. Doesn't that sound like tortious interference with prospective business relations or tortious interference with a contract or et cetera, et cetera? There's various California business laws, 17,200 et sequitur. Remember, we've said that so many times that we now memorize it. The tweet received 6,000 retweets and 26,000 likes, several million views. She did not police a black woman's body, took no action to jeopardize anyone's safety, did not engage in racism or bigotry, which was not really said out overtly, but sort of implied that there was something about it being a black woman. But yeah, I mean, did Redbird say that knowing that it would get the mob incited against? Yeah, sounds like it. At the Direction Command, any conspiracy with other employees of Redbird, California Cold Blood Books issued a statement accusing Ms. Tynes of an act of racism against a black woman and engaging in the act of an oppressor. Plaintiff did not engage in an act of racism or bigotry. And then she had to go to the hospital. We're going to skip through a lot of this because the rest of this is just what happened. It made it to it made it through the news cycle, the 24-hour news cycle. She received death threats, harassment, other persecution, etc. Then this part happens. Peterson urges Natasha to sign away her rights while she's in the hospital. That part I got a problem with. You don't come after somebody in the hospital, especially when what legal damage was anybody suffering at that time? Her husband informed Peterson that she's not able to talk. He had some ideas to move forward. Peterson suddenly thinks she's in an even better position after all of this hubbub. Peterson asks the husband, will you be able to hop on the phone with us? Just yourself. This represents a transparent attempt to try to have plaintiff's husband, a non-contract party and non-attorney, negotiate the rights of a contracted party. This is more egregious than the defamation, if I may say so myself. This is some kind of weird thing here, trying to... this just bothers me, because a person in the hospital, while they're under tremendous distress, especially emotional distress, might not have the capacity to sign a contract or understand what's going on. And so Peterson is really looking like he's taking advantage of her while he's accusing her of being the perpetrator of some heinous crime. Peterson wrote an email using an urgency close sales tactic, attempting to have plaintiff sign away her rights under duress while incapacitated. The email states, time is of the essence and we'd like to see this handled today. We just feel horrible this happened and regret Natasha's fall into ill health. The email referenced by Peterson goes on to say that the book's publication has been delayed indefinitely, despite the fact that sales numbers had spiked, but that they had simply don't want to publish the book anymore and we want to dissolve our publishing agreement. And then they had her try to waive her rights. She was proposed to get paid $29.77.15 for her book, something she was already supposed to get paid, she says. Plaintiff waive any claim to a $3,000 advance for her audiobook, sign a release of all liability, and nothing tangible offered to plaintiff in return, according to them. Oh, she's supposed to pay $2,977.15. Okay. And then they followed up. They had the documents written up and wanted to include provisions protecting both of us from damages and disparagement. They need to be signed in a timely manner. They were not signed. Author shall make public statement regarding publisher's request to release author. Author agrees to indemnify publisher. That's a lot. Indemnify the publisher would mean that any damages the publisher suffered, Natasha would be responsible for legally. So that's a really interesting agreement that they tried to have her sign. And then she goes on to allege actual malice. We're going to skip ahead a little bit here because there's not a whole lot more in here. She's alleging unjust enrichment. Just like the last story with Watchtower, she's alleging that Rare Bird is going to benefit from the several million views on Twitter. And that's unjust enrichment. I'm looking forward to the day that a judge rules on whether views, upvotes, whatever, are somehow monetizable, are like convertible into money. If you lose, or in this case, gain 7 million views illegally, what's that worth dollar-wise? I can't wait to hear what that number is. They received a significant increase in their popularity. Great. So breach of contract would be a breach of the actual contract. Breach of implied covenant of good faith. I don't exactly remember what the covenant of good faith is. Let's look that up. The implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing is a general presumption that the parties to a contract will deal with each other honestly, fairly, and in good faith. So yeah, that could be a violation of good faith and fair dealing. Detrimental reliance, that she relied on the contract. Normally you would plead this in the alternative, that if somehow there's not a contract, that you relied on the non-contract. Unjust enrichment, we saw what that was. Significant publicity and sales benefits. Tortious interference with a contract. This is pled in the alternative. That's saying that they interfered with plaintiff's business relationships. and defamation, and conspiracy to defame, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. So she's asking for $3,440,000 as compensatory damages and $10 million in punitive damages. I think that's an interesting case. It's kind of on the line. I'm not exactly sure which way that one would go. We saw another author, Courtney Milan. She felt that this was a very frivolous case and wouldn't be worth much of anything at all because the amount of money in controversy is more like $3,000 than $3 million, and that expectations of being published really don't reach this high. Like Natasha's book wasn't going to make her $3.4 million, so she's not damaged to the point of $3.4 million. I don't know. I don't see it yet. I don't see this as having reached the Oberlin College level, and that seems to be the level of damages we're asking for. Maybe not 11 million in damages, but 3.4 is certainly up there. You've already crossed the line into the millions, so I'm not inclined to move too much on that. Let us know what you think about that. Give us your thoughts in the comments below. Sponsors is open to the public, everyone. If you would like to become a creator who is supported by the Sponsors platform, the major part, sponsorship, is available and works great. We've been using it for the past 2 months. It works great. And
for a limited time right now, to celebrate the launch, anybody who signs up can actually have a 4-letter username, which is a really big deal because that means that your sponsors link will be shorter. So it'll be
that's a really good idea.
About it.
That's a really good idea. Give them the 4-letter name for the early adopters.
Yeah.
So that's our show, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to check out sponsors.org as an alternative to Patreon. But thank you very much to all of our supporters on both patreon.com/ljfrench and sponsors.org/u/lawfulmasses. At the $50 level for the month of June, our supporters are John Steele, Gavin Barnard, Kyle Mudrak, Eevi, Michael Pearce, Terry Crisp, Richard Fournier, Spirit Bear, Jan Negrey, Daniel Perez, Aspernari, and Snorre Wisotzky. And at the $5 level, we will have people in the description below, as I don't have a scrolling LED panel, which is one of our favorite perks to do. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for your support. And I'll just leave time here for the editor to insert some dog video or Scotland video or whatever I've got for you. Some personal video because I'd like to share. Anyway, I'm Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney. Thank you to Brandon for joining me today on stream. I love you all. I will see you from the USA next week. And the week after that, I think Kaylee's going to be in the US. So looking forward to having her in the US for the summer during her break from her job. Anyway, love you all. Have a good day. Bye. We've got one happy dog. Well, I'm actually leave. I guess I can take them. Yeah, he's really not doing well. I think we're gonna call it, and I'll take them. I'll dry off and take them. Can we do towels?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Good girl. Good girl. Nope. Come on, Nico. Yeah. Come on. Oh, good boy. Oh, good boy. Oh, good boy. Good boy.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Yeah. See, isn't this fun? Isn't this a good alternative? We didn't go places with lots of noise. I definitely didn't go places with lots of noise. No, we're not going that way. No, we're not going that way. We're gonna turn this ship around.